You guys made it.
We made it.
Congratulations.
Good job, Jamie. That was on time.
You were. I said, we might not be able to start on time.
You were. I think you were a minute early. I think 11:59.
I turned over a new leaf.
It is Real Estate for Real with Eric Pettigo. Thank you for downloading and subscribing and all of that good stuff. But here today, a couple of members of the Easley team, Jamie Murphy, Eric Easley.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming on. We're still going to do, this was going to be another Realtor Roundtable episode, which have been a lot of fun. And that's a format that I enjoy and I want to keep doing. People are terrified to come in here. They're literally hiding from me in the hallways. They're covering their faces.
I talked to a couple last night.
Me, one of them.
From you.
Yeah. And for everyone out there, you can't hide forever. I will get you in here. But afterwards, the people that do come in always say, "Oh, well, that was fun. Yeah, glad I did it." And it is fun. It's super fun to do. They're very informative. I think this is episode 28, and I've learned something every episode. And so we can't quit learning. So Shelly Barrett was supposed to join us today too, but a scheduling conflict. And she's got to talk to her assistant about that because she had us down for tomorrow. And I screenshotted her the text and circled the date. So
it happens.
Make sure that's on here, huh?
Yeah.
It happens.
And another thing I need to get out of the way is Mike Busher was, in fact, on time today for coffee and questions. And he was there the whole time. So good job, Mike.
Way to go, Mike.
Yes, way to go. So we are still going to do kind of the roundtable thing and talk about some stuff. But, I mean, since it's you two, we can also do a little getting to know the Easley team. Right? Okay. I mean, because if Shelly was here for that, it'd be kind of weird. Like Shelly just shh for a second. So tell us about, for one, how you guys met, came together, formed a team. What's the backstory?
Well, I helped Ryan and Jamie when they came to Springfield from West Virginia at the time.
North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Close.
After West Virginia.
We also lived in West Virginia.
And they came and I showed them houses for a couple weekends. And Ryan was an old friend from baseball, and Jamie had went to school with my ex-wife, and so we had a quick, fun weekend of about 24 showings, I think. And we even walked into a basement where a kid was asleep that we didn't.
Yeah,
you were pregnant.
I was very pregnant. Yes, we had some weird showings.
Those were the days, though, right?
Those were the days. And then they
24 showings in a weekend.
They came here, and I was talking to Ryan one day because he was at Bank of Springfield, of course. Jamie's Ryan's, I should say Ryan is Jamie's husband. He's at Bank of Springfield, and he was talking about how he was so busy. I was telling him, me too, and he's like, "Well, maybe you could get my wife to get more busy." And I was like, "Oh, that's easy." And then Jamie got her license quick, and she's been nothing but a huge asset, and I've probably learned more from her than she has from me.
I disagree with
that. Was really nice.
That was very nice.
Yeah. So around what time frame was this?
2016?
Cameron was in kindergarten, and he's in 8th grade.
27? Yeah, that's about right. 8 years.
Okay. All right.
And we do have a third. Caitlin Fry's been with us for 4 years now. And Caitlin just had a son last year, too. So
well, congratulations, Caitlin.
Cohen, she's transitioning from being a full-time 3-job person to a 5-time, I think 5 jobs now with Cohen and Trey, her husband. And Caitlin's been an awesome addition, too. And we've learned a lot from her with social media. And Jamie's been instrumental for her development.
Well, good. Awesome. Great. And so when you guys so you were at Remax, right?
Yes.
Then?
Correct.
And that's where you guys started. And what year did you come over here? Remind me.
2021.
21.
Okay.
With Mike Oldenettle and Kathy Garst.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember you coming over. I was trying to remember how long it had been. But I remember
Right
you and I
after
having
COVID,
conversations right around then, too. I was trying to get you guys over here.
You were.
Yeah. I mean,
Enough you guys pulled. And
right.
it's been we enjoyed our time at Remax.
Sure.
And we had
Loved
nothing
Remax.
but we worked with nothing but great people there, and,
Yeah.
and we've been lucky to
Yeah,
have the
and
same
still have
here.
good relationships there.
Absolutely.
Isn't it nice in this industry to be able to? I mean, we have those friends at other brokerages that we have, and there are some that I love working with,
Yeah.
and I trust completely, and I know. And maybe it's the industry in itself, because as the three of us all sit here, even you two being on the same team, we're all kind of in competition with
Right.
each other.
And
already.
I feel like that's what makes our, this business so unique.
Yeah.
I mean, like I had lunch with Jane Hay on Friday, and we're competitors with all these people, but we're also good friends.
Sure.
With them.
Yeah, good name drop. I've been trying to get Jane to come on, but I've given up. She keeps putting me, just give me 3 or 4 months, and then maybe.
Maybe when
All
she's
right.
in her new building, you can go there.
Maybe.
Do an on location with Jane.
Yeah.
Maybe she should just build me a studio. In that thing. And I
We
can just do them all there.
We're very lucky here to have so many resources
Yeah.
and
Yes.
and
Great
watch it
people.
continue to
Yeah.
grow. So we were lucky to come when we did.
So when did Caitlin come on board?
About the same time. It was
Really?
2022, I think, with Caitlin, because we had transitioned
We had just come
first.
here. Yeah.
Yep. And then Caitlin was jumping into the business kind of head first and killed it. And then the business, of course, has slowed a little bit. And so she's still, again, helping us with a lot of other things. But she's got some new constructions
Yeah.
that she's working
A lot of
on
new
with,
construction.
in Sherman. It's been, she's continued to keep us busy.
So I have never been able to get my foot in the door with a builder enough to become their agent. And it's weird because what I did before this was help run my family's sod business. And so
You worked with builders all the time.
all the time, great relationships. And so my mind then was, well, this would be
Yeah.
a great transition. But no, no. And
Caitlin even had a hard time getting into this particular builder. It's also her family's.
helpful. Yeah. None of my families build anything. So
And I say that tongue in cheek, meaning that they made her kind of prove herself too, that she was ready to do it, and she did.
well, it's a big thing,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to, have that trust in somebody and turn it over to them.
Yeah.
And these are big transactions. So that's understandable. You should have to earn it somewhat.
And they've made her, and she's done great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was 7 minutes and 45 seconds of getting to know you. So let's get into some topics. Jamie, you and I were sitting here talking before we started recording. And I mentioned how this doesn't bother me. I can talk into microphones, in a room with people, no problem. But get me up there talking in front of 10 people or more, I get nervous. And people are kind of shocked by that sometimes. Like I had a conversation with Keki a couple of weeks ago because she was asking if maybe I'd be interested in coming and speaking to this club she's a part of. And I was like, I'm going to tell you something about myself. That scares me. I can do this. I can't do that. But my phone heard me saying that and started diagnosing me out loud. The AI heard me and was like, it sounds like you suffer social anxiety. And I was like, whoa. But Jamie, you had mentioned AI in our text about topics you'd like to talk about. And I told you I was going to specifically ask you questions personally
You did.
to put you on the spot.
Yes, thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
I'm anxious to hear this.
No,
What are your thoughts?
I do not use anything AI.
Okay.
Because it listens to everything you say.
It's scary.
Right?
Yes.
Well, we were talking before, and it started talking about me being nervous.
Oh,
Again, it was diagnosing me on his phone, and I
Yeah.
was like, that's why I don't use AI.
yeah.
But I do have a friend who uses chat.
ChatGPT.
Yep. And loves it.
Yeah.
I mean, she asks it every question, but I feel like, isn't that Google?
Yes and no, because I also use ChatGPT.
'Cause it learns.
GPT. Yeah, and it learns.
Again, though, isn't that weird?
It is, but it continues to learn. Every day you can ask a question, it'll be a different answer every day.
Sure. Yes, it evolves and learns, and
Well,
it
it
gets
learns you.
It gets to know you.
Tells you what you want to hear.
I can.
I bet it does.
Like
It's
you
scary.
can say, hey, you don't have to cater to me. You can, in the future, you can critique things, because I've noticed that ChatGPT is very easy to persuade.
Right. So is it actually telling you correct answer, or is it telling you what each person wants to hear?
It depends, right? And it's very smart like that. For one, you can ask it questions that you would just put into Google, like some statistics, things like that,
Right.
and it'll pump that out to you, which is great. But you can start getting into actual conversations, like you're talking to a human, and it'll interact with you. And it just kind of depends. The example I use, because it's always fun, I asked who's better, Jordan or LeBron, because I wanted to see what ChatGPT said. And a little bit on the fence, back and forth. And then I threw out a couple of stats, and then it swayed towards the stats I gave. And I'm like, I mean, you're awfully smart, but that was pretty easy for me,
Yeah.
to just get you on my side. But regardless of all that, it's, you can tell it, no, you can disagree with me. And then it will. It's crazy. But for us, for realtors, you can ask it questions about, hey, what are some out-of-the-box marketing ideas? What are some things I can do to set myself apart from other realtors who are all doing this, and this? And it'll say, great question. Here's a list of things you should think about. And then it'll ask for your feedback. What do you think of these? And then if you say, not that one, but this one I'm kind of into. So it'll learn that about you, and it'll save that. Say, okay, you kind of like this. So this might fit your personality more. So then it'll generate some more stuff.
Do you use it?
I don't. I tried it initially,
Yeah.
and I don't like the fakeness of it. I was an English major. That may sound really crazy, but it turned into a professional writing minor. So I loved writing marketing remarks.
Yeah.
I loved being
Yeah.
able to describe and emphasize what I wanted to,
Yeah.
and cater it to the customer too,
Right.
because they want certain things that are good in their summary. But at the same time, I can see how you can get addicted to AI because you can get it done so
So
fast.
quick.
Yes.
But it kicks out very similar things if you continue to use
Yeah.
that answer, and then everything looks like it's the same.
So we're talking about marketing remarks
Yes, sir.
specifically, which I'm like you.
Yeah.
I like writing my own.
Yeah, me
It's
too.
fun for me, And maybe I'll jump on there and say, give me a list of synonyms for huge.
I look up synonyms and antonyms,
Yeah. But I don't
on
want it to
Google
write all my
also,
remarks.
yeah.
So, a question for you two: how many people do you think still read our marketing remarks?
We've covered this on the podcast before, on a couple episodes ago, but it's a great question.
I think serious buyers who are looking at houses, I think they do. I think a lot of people skim over them.
But
I think it's a small percentage.
I think it's become a much smaller percentage because of our inventory.
Yeah.
Because the people that want
Yeah.
to buy where they want to buy it hits.
But they're still going to read it just so they know. I mean,
I
feel
agree.
like
I think it's important. Still, it's not
Yeah.
unimportant, but I don't think it's as important as it used to be, and it's probably not as red as it used to be. But it makes the pictures even more important.
It almost seems like we could replace our marketing remarks with a stat sheet that just says roof this year, HVAC this year. Because really,
that's really what people want to know.
yeah, kitchen this year, and countertops are this, because that's really what people are after.
Yeah.
And then when we're, as realtors, we're looking through it and we get this essay,
And you're scanning it for how old is the roof? How
Yes.
old is
And again, I think the writing portion became really important when you were trying to convince people to go look at that house compared to the 10 that were on the market.
and you
that
were
met those
writing
criteria.
like classified ads for the paper.
Exactly. Yeah. So that
Yeah, no, you're right. though.
So you had to bring them in different ways. Where now it's just, again, I think it's an inventory thing.
It's a house in our price range. We need to be there
which
in
that,
10
that-
minutes.
and that may evolve, right?
Sure.
But so I think we're just a product of our time right now.
Yeah, and I it's a great question because we've talked about that on here before, and I don't think anybody really does. On occasion, I will go through, with a client, and we'll walk into a house, and they'll say, "All right, well, it said that the roof on this one is this," and they will have already read up on it, and I'm always like, "So
That's why I feel
you
like
know
the
more than I
buyer-
do about this
Right.
because I didn't
feel like
read
the
all that."
buyers always know exactly what it has said. I mean,
Yeah.
especially when you're looking at one house. They have
Yeah.
scoured, that one listing because there's only one.
That's why agents probably hate me, because if there is I'll usually try to contact them before I show it and go, tell me something that isn't,
Right.
already on the sheet, because all of us are pretty good at we want that question because we want to be able to tell people, because we can't fit everything onto a
Right.
what we want.
No, but I do feel like, and I was thinking about this, there should be some sort of adjustment to cater to the questions that we always get. And everybody wants to know how old the roof is and
mechanicals.
how the
HVAC.
mechanicals are. I feel like that should
Windows.
be an input section on our MLS sheets.
I agree.
Because that's
It's
everybody
more,
wants
it's,
to know.
It's more important than the room dimensions.
100%. Nobody looks at room dimensions. Everybody wants to know the age of all the mechanicals and the big ticket stuff.
Yep.
So to me, that should be on there.
Or even the type of, too.
Yeah, because
Gas, electric.
It's so yeah. It's so rare where there's a roof that's been, put on, I don't know, longer than 10 years, and somebody mentions it in the listing, because that's not a selling point.
Right.
That's it takes away from the appeal. But then, every now and then you'll go through one and won't say anything about the roof, and you're looking up there and you're going, I know I'm just a realtor, not a roofer, but that looks brand new. And so then you say, hey, how old's the roof on this house? And they're like, it just went on in September. And it's like,
No remark.
why would you not put that in there?
Yeah, yeah.
It's a huge selling point.
Yeah.
And they might think, well, how would nobody not notice that?
Sure.
So, but
Right. So I think there just needs to be a place where we
I
put
agree.
that in there.
Yep.
It's super important. Everybody wants to know. I've never, ever had a client go through to purchase a house and not want to know how old the mechanicals are.
And that's something
Ever.
that we teach our first-time home buyers too, is that these are the things that you want to know, because your big ticket
These
items
are the
are
most
going to be,
expensive.
you have to know this because it's going to really play a part into your equity.
Yes. And so I always, just to kind of transition from that, I met with it was my first time meeting with a client a few days ago. We looked at a couple houses, and one of them she really liked. But the mechanicals were all from like the late 90s, and the roof, you could tell there was nothing about it. And just by looking at it, I mean, that's got to be at least 15 years old, right? And she liked the house, though, and it needed some updating. It needed some new flooring. It needed some paint, but she loved the area and loved the layout. I said, okay, but keep in mind, if you call me in 5 to 10 years to sell this house, even if the roof hasn't started leaking, even if you're still getting the heat in the air and everything's good, those are going to need, that's going to be a big drawback when we go to sell. So,
Unless there's nothing for sale again.
right. But even then, right? So like I still, yeah, right. But
It still goes into effect.
It does.
yeah,
It does.
I say, so you're probably out like 20 to 25
Right.
grand before you even open a can of paint.
Correct.
Right.
This is the only market that we've ever experienced where people are not getting deducted for that because
Yes.
people don't have a choice. And then, not to say that they're not being hit on it, but they're not getting hit on it all the time.
You're right. No, you're right. It's less of an issue now than it's ever been. But I'm
It'll
still
evolve.
telling my people.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
So you know.
100%.
Yeah. I know you might want this.
And
place.
windows too. If your windows are 30 or 40 years old,
Yeah. Windows are a big deal.
They are. But I always tell people too, the good thing about windows compared to like a roof, you can't just do.
You can replace
a section.
one, yeah.
You can gradually do them over time.
there are still some original windows over by Washington Park.
Oh, sure.
There's a lot of original windows around this
Yes.
town.
Yeah, some of these older Springfield houses.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, true.
Such neat character, but then you walk in and you're like, oh man.
And it's painted shut.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't open it.
All right. So let me get to my actual list, because this happened to me the other day too, and I've got a few examples. Have you guys had any issues explaining the buyer agency agreement or having people understand what that means?
No.
No.
Good. Okay. Well, next
Have you?
topic. Yeah. Well, no, not. I haven't had anybody refuse to, but I had to have an attorney
Oh.
client sign the buyer agency agreement the other day, and it's the same one that was looking at these houses. And it was my first time meeting her, so we haven't established that trust.
Right.
And so when I show her the buyer agency agreement that says you're working with me for this long and only me, and you are agreeing right here to pay me X amount, which, by the way, the rules are we can talk about commission, just not the exact numbers. There you go, Mike. But when I'm explaining it to her, hey, but this is how it's going to work. But she's like, hold on, let me see that. And then she's reading through, and you can tell like a little skeptical about how this works, because you are indeed signing something saying that you are going to pay my brokerage money for me being your buyer's agent. Also, you're tied to me until this end date. And so I say, hey, don't worry. If you don't want to work with me, let me know. We'll cancel this.
Amen.
I'm not going to hold
It
you to
also
anything.
says in there, either party can cancel.
And,
At
and
any
that's the
time.
most important thing to, I think, verbalize is at any point, if you're not happy or vice versa, then,
Yeah.
I mean, we can
We can
equally
fire
eliminate-
you too.
Exactly. We don't like to do that, but
No, but we can. But and then the part about, and then I say, this is how you are going to pay me. You're going to give seller money, and the seller's
it's
going
the chicken
to pay
and the
me.
egg.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
The never-ending saga.
So, but there's some skepticism there from people that don't know. And then I had another instance where I met a lady who came through an open house, and we talked for a little bit, and I followed up with her, and she wanted me to help find her a property. I was like, you want me to keep it a lookout? Because she's like, yeah, we don't have anybody working for us. So I find her an off-market property that she's really interested in. And it's getting ready to go active. And so I'm sending her updates because I'm getting them from the agent. It's, here's the address, here's some stuff. And then she's really interested. And so it hits as a coming soon. And I send it over. Say, hey, it's going to be ready to see on this date. She goes, okay, should we just call the listing agent? I said, no, I'll show it to you. I mean, and she's like, okay, that's fine. And I was like, it felt weird. I said, you got time for a quick talk? Sure. So I call and I say, you don't have to call listing agents. Like I can help
be
you with
your
this.
realtor.
It'd be a lot easier if you just have one. And she goes, yeah, but we don't want a buyer's agent representing us. Oh, why? She's okay. Well, we have a really good family friend who's a realtor, and when like all these changes happened last year, she wanted to have us sign this contract with her that tied us to her for a year, and it said we had to pay her commission, and we don't want to do that, so we don't want to work with a buyer's agent. And I said, oh, so she didn't explain to you like how this has worked for the most part, right? And no clue that
At first, it was hard to explain.
Sure.
And I think at first people were trying to bite their tongue more than they said because they didn't know what they
Well,
could
and
say
nobody
and what they
knew
couldn't.
how sellers were going to respond
Right.
And
to the
buyers.
same conversation, though, that we've had for all
Correct.
these years.
Yep.
And they're responding the same
yeah.
for the most part.
It's like, the important thing is to be transparent and to make them feel comfortable about knowing that no matter what happens, you are going to know exactly what the numbers are before you commit to
Yes. Yes. And I told her, I said, you, in a sense, you are agreeing, but we get it from the seller. And if the seller for some reason refuses and you still want the house, then yeah, you would have to pay my commission. However, I've done X amount of deals since this has happened, and I have received $0 directly from any of the buyers.
Right.
And that made her feel a lot better.
But and at the same time, again, the chicken and the egg.
Right.
Except every dollar actually came from the buyer.
Yeah, always.
But
Right,
yeah,
'cause
so
they're
it's,
paying.
and when you explain that you're bringing the money regardless, and the seller has the equity regardless. Ultimately, you all are kind of intertwining and splitting this.
Yeah. So I was wondering because I had two instances recently where I kind of had to really get in there and explain how this works to people because they were hesitant. And one of them, they've just been calling, making sign calls for months now because
They didn't want to pay the buyer's agent.
yeah,
All it takes is one time for somebody to learn how one mistake
yeah,
on either side can cost up to $25,000, $35,000, $55,000.
sure.
Then they're all in. Then they understand what we do.
Yeah.
And why it's so important to have somebody that knows what they're doing to navigate everything, because a small mistake can cost you tens of thousands of dollars in a blink.
Yes. And sometimes that small mistake can just be, I want to sell my house on my own.
Or yeah, I mean it's the negotiating the option 1 on option 2 versus option 2 on the inspections,
Right.
repairs. It's
Yeah. So anyhow, I feel like this is something that we're going to keep kind of working through with people and educating people, because I was so shocked. I was like, oh, so you've just been sign calling this whole time. Also, you have a friend you have a really good family friend who's not
Helping. Yeah.
right.
well, and
Right.
yeah.
And so I'm like, so, okay, I mean, I don't want to step on anybody's feet here, so now you know how this works. You can work with your friend. However, I've done a lot of legwork to
Right.
find you this property. So anyhow, to be continued on that. But
Well, I think we all can do is continue to educate the public and educate the community, and then they'll continue to learn and adapt.
Yeah.
Just like
And
we have.
read more into than just headlines, because
Yes.
that's, for the longest time, the headlines led everybody to believe sellers no longer paying buyers agents.
Right.
And that was it. And that's all people saw.
If we haven't learned that watching the news the last 6
Right.
years, then we'll
Yeah,
never learn it.
Exactly.
6 is all. So yeah, and to be clear, it doesn't mean that no buyer will have to pay their agents. That's
Right.
not the case either. It just means that
It
these
hasn't-
things.
Yeah, we have not experienced that.
Yeah, and I'm sure some people have. Actually, Wade was on here, and he lost out on an offer because a competing offer. That buyer paid their own agent's
Yeah.
commission to make it a more appealing offer.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
You know,
it's another but it's always been a variable.
Right.
There you go.
It's something they always could have done to make it a variable.
yes, yes. It's just now it's more public, and it's making sure everybody understands their options and how these things
Which
work.
should have been explained to them originally.
You got it. All right. So here's another thing that I'm interested, especially Jane, with you being a former teacher. You see a lot of young people getting interested in real estate now, and that wasn't the case when we were growing up. Nobody wanted to grow up and become a real estate agent. But now you see a lot of people interested, and so I'm curious, do you guys think that it would be a good idea to offer in high school like some sort of a real estate class for students, not to necessarily maybe become realtors, but understand how real estate works and owning property can work and stuff like that? Because it's really something that nobody finds out about until they grow up. And then your first inclination, I mean, mine was I need to get out of my parents' house. Let me find a place to rent,
Right.
And so I think it might be interesting if that became some sort of an elective course in high school, because there's a real interest now.
Are you offering to teach it, Eric?
Me? I don't think I have the credentials. Yeah, but
I
just
mean,
in general.
I think that's a good idea. I think any kind of real world class that you can take in high school is beneficial.
Right.
Taxes. I mean, there's all kinds of things.
The question is high school too early to be able to?
Yeah, I feel like
to-
maybe college.
I think it'd be more probably college level, because high school would be very early for most to understand.
To
and
even think about spending that much money because
they can't,
their parents are paying their lunch bill,
However, you can get your real estate license when you are 18.
True.
Right out of high school.
Yeah.
You can get your real estate license. And there are people that age that are really interested in this. And so educating them, not just about becoming a real estate agent, but just how real estate works.
Well, I think something to the effect of business, where it would cover maybe real estate, insurance,
Sure.
and kind of multi-layered, because none of us knew about anything about
No.
insurance or
Right.
real estate or banking when it came to that. I mean, finance. Your finance classes in high school, even in college, they are what they are. Can anybody remember any question on any tests they took in business class or finance class?
No, in high school, I took a record keeping class and got a math credit for balancing a checkbook.
Well, home ec.
Right.
That was our welcome to real life.
Yeah. And then you're like,
Yeah, I wish I would have learned how to change a tire in high school.
Right.
They didn't teach me how to do that either.
yeah. So there's some real life grown up stuff that we could be teaching these people in high school to better equip them, especially now because homeowners are becoming young. People want to get into homeownership.
How about do their own taxes? I mean, we're not taught how to do taxes.
Well, and there's a lot of real
I
estate
hate
shows
taxes.
on now, so
Yes.
it makes it really appealing that you're going to make millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's glamour.
You guys remember your first million?
became glamorous.
Man, that was great.
I do love selling Sunset.
Do you?
I do.
As long as people understand it's entertainment. It's
Yes,
not real.
but they don't.
Exactly.
And that's the problem. And one of the reasons that I wanted to start doing this podcast and start like actually getting the real life of real estate agents out there for consumption, because what we see on TV is it's so crazy. Like I love $1 Million Listing. Those shows are some of my favorite shows. But it's
I love just seeing the properties.
yeah. But I saw one.
I prefer murder mysteries.
Yeah, you like to disconnect from work a little bit when you're at home. Yeah, maybe there's something wrong with us. Maybe it's like I've clocked out from real estate. Let's watch some real estate. But I saw one, and I've got no business telling anybody how to present themselves. But the realtor on some show I was just flipping through, and this guy had on like a cutoff, and he was all tatted up, which is fine. Tattoos are fine. But shorts and Crocs, and he's showing these like high-end properties, and I'm just like, I feel like that's a bit of a gimmick, right? I mean,
There's a lot of gimmicks.
yeah, and it's like, hey, watch this show. Here's a cool, edgy realtor,
Right. That has millions.
yeah,
So he can dress
Yeah.
however he wants.
yeah. So
And
From being on TV, that's why he has millions.
there it is.
and his network is already, I'm sure, built in.
Yeah, but it is. It's much different than you see on TV. But those shows can be fun.
I agree.
It's much different. All right, check. Strangest client request. And now, just so you know, that should real estate be taught in school is a topic I got from ChatGPT. I also said, hey, I'm having a few realtors on it knows I do podcasts. And any topic ideas, and it gives me some good ones.
Interesting.
Right? Strangest client request. And I'll start if you guys want.
Okay, go ahead.
And this is one of my favorites, and still friends to this day. So I don't, but you know, people are. So we go through this house. The family likes the house. It's vacant, and the wife is very diligent. So she goes home and starts looking at who the owners were, and found the obituary.
Did you represent my sister? Sorry, Courtney.
No, but her husband is one of my best friends. So she finds the obituary and found out that the previous owner passed away in the house, because the obituary will say it typically.
Yeah. At home, surrounded by loved ones.
There it is, right? And so people always want to know, well, do you have to disclose if somebody's died in the house? No, you do not.
No.
In Massachusetts,
Not here.
you used to have to.
Yeah, okay. Not here.
Not here.
Not in Illinois. You don't have to. Not a required disclosure.
Nope.
Has meth ever been made there?
That is
Yes.
a disclosure.
That is
a disclosure.
Yeah, and people have to understand the reason for that was because people were actually buying up DEA properties and then just slapping paint on them in the country and then just throwing them up there for sale.
And the buyers were getting sick.
Buyers
Getting
were getting
sick.
sick.
Yeah.
Of course they were.
I always watch my sellers' faces when they're
Oh,
going
it's
through
always
disclosures and they get to
entertaining.
them.
Yeah. Right.
Meth?
Also,
No.
if somebody did produce it, you think they're going to answer that question, honestly?
Right? I've been through one house where that was checked yes.
Oh.
Ever.
I had a realtor.
It was owned by the
I've
police. Like it had been.
It was probably a DEA
Yeah.
acquisition. Yeah, I had somebody that thought they walked into one, but it was a big saltwater aquarium
Oh.
system in the basement. But they walked downstairs first.
Oh,
and
wow.
They saw this like salt and buckets everywhere, and they were like,
Oh.
"What? I think something's going on down here." Like, no, we'll go upstairs. There's like sharks.
I mean, maybe they got methed up and watched their sharks swim. Who knows?
No, it was just for fish.
Okay. All right. Well, so she finds the obituary. She's, Eric, somebody passed away in this house. I said, okay. She's like, but we still like it. All right. She said, can we take our dog over there? Because I think our dog can sense if there are any spirits in the house.
I mean, maybe it could.
So that's a call I had to make. Yeah, right. I mean,
How did the dog respond?
the dog was cool. I mean,
The dog saw a shadow. Or did not see a shadow?
first I had to make the call.
Right. Can we bring our dog to find out if there's any spirits?
Yes. And we got the okay. So, the estate that was selling this, said, yeah, fine, go ahead. And, dog went over there and was a dog. And everything was fine. And they didn't make an offer on that one.
Oh.
But it was what I was thinking of. Okay, strangest request was probably, can we bring a dog over to sense the spirits in the house?
Yeah.
And,
That's a weird one.
yeah.
Yep.
But
Jamie, what's yours?
So I listed a house. The lady was 99. She was so sweet.
I know where this is going.
And she wanted me to sell her house, but she did not want me to advertise it, put a sign in the yard, put it in the MLS, just sell her house without telling anybody, pretty much. She didn't want people to show up at her door
makes sense.
as she lived alone. And so, I sold it.
Jamie sold a house
got it done.
with being told she can't do anything that she needed to do to sell it.
Nope.
But I still need you to sell it.
Okay, so we still got some time here. How'd you sell it?
Well, I also had to be
Present for
present
showings?
for every showing. Did you show that house?
No.
Christ
Just
the-
a guess.
Over at Christ the King.
Uh-huh. I had to be present for all showings, which was fine. I got to know her very well.
Right.
She turned 100, and then she passed away.
Oh.
She was...
Jamie and her became best friends.
We did. She had no family alive. And so I just kind of helped her through the whole thing and even found people to move her. She needed to move to retirement home, and she had nobody to move her.
Oh, my God.
And this is why Jamie will be in heaven one day with her wings.
That is not why.
And Eric and I will be looking up above.
Whoa, hey, you didn't lump me in there with that just because we have the same
It
name.
has nothing to do with that.
I did.
But that also, and a lot of
Circle back around 'cause I know.
realtors,
Yeah.
though, that is not I would say that is not a unique story. There were a lot of exceptions there, but a lot of
You
us
went
go above and beyond.
But you went to the moon.
we have it. It's part of the contract. If they don't want us to put a sign, sign in the yard or advertise it out there to people, they
Right.
have to agree to all that stuff.
Right.
Pictures, address.
But this is a perfect example of how you get a good reputation in the business when you handle each transaction, no matter what the price point is. 'Cause This
Right.
was not a big price
No.
point. The same. It didn't matter if it was a $50,000 listing or a $500,000 listing. Jamie treated her the exact same way she would have, no matter what price point it was.
So I'm so glad you just said that because I didn't put it on my list, but I was thinking about this last night. Like, okay, this could be a potential topic. But I have come across people before where, they said that they had talked to another agent, and the agent told them, like, sorry, I don't deal with houses under this price range, which blew my mind. Right? Like, I was like, oh.
No, and some won't deal in auctions or things they're not comfortable with.
Right.
Sure, but it wasn't that. It was 100% price range.
Price point, yeah.
Right? If your house isn't worth this much or you're not shopping for a house worth this much,
They
I'm
won't.
not going to waste my time.
That's a dangerous game.
Isn't it? Right? Because I'm sure you guys have too. I've had clients buy their first house for $60,000 that years later, now that's worth over $100, and their next ones they're looking for $300.
Yep.
Or their best friend or their parents
their mom or their dad
Right.
It
or
doesn't.
their
It does. This
neighbor,
community is
yeah.
too small.
Yes.
And it shouldn't matter that it's this small, but ultimately, karma will get you.
Yes. And then for me, the mindset of, listen, if somebody can afford a $700,000 house and they've got that money and they can afford that, and I'm working with them and I'm taking care of them, but I have somebody who can afford an $85,000 house. The scale, to them, that's just as important. And that's,
If not more.
right.
Because every dollar becomes more important.
Yeah.
Every dollar of the contract is
Yeah,
super important.
Absolutely.
And that is and so to them, those emotions aren't measured in dollars, and what they care about isn't measured. It's all that they have to get that done, and it means so much to
Yeah.
them. It's so disrespectful if you don't take the same care of that person
Right.
as you do the person buying the expensive property.
Amen.
And so I think that gets lost sometimes. I think, as agents, we got a lot of balls in the air, and sometimes it's easier to, the ones that don't make us as much, it can happen. So it's something to keep in mind that to them, that is the biggest thing in the world in that moment.
Yeah, it's huge that we go from A to Z no matter what the transaction
Yes.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I pride myself in that. Like, I will It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what
and
your
we
price
treat
range is.
every listing the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was one of the first things Eric told me was no matter what the price range, we treat it the same.
Something
We
Eric
do
taught you.
We do professional pictures. You know, we do everything, no matter what. So we treat all the clients equally.
Yeah.
I did one thing right.
Dude, look at you. Way to go. How's that coffee coming along?
They made fun of me because I drink one of these a day, but
There's only 3 servings in there.
I may have a caffeine addiction.
Yeah, that's all right, man. That's all right. But no, I'm glad you brought that up, and I know you guys take good care of your people too. So that's why we've always
as you do too.
do.
Every transaction that, and this is what people don't understand too is you mentioned we're all in competition.
Yeah.
We also hold one another accountable.
Oh, sure.
I mean, good agents hold other good agents accountable. Good agents will hold other mediocre agents accountable.
Well, and honestly, when you have good relationships with these other agents, things go so much smoother.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
and it's not because it's steering. It's because we know what to expect from one another, and we know we can't get anything by one another, and we know we're going to represent the client.
And you know that they're honest, and you know that they're doing the best for their client as well.
Because the client is the one that's being represented, and the other one is the important factor is that the communication has to happen.
Yeah.
Because if we don't communicate, then everything falls apart anyway.
True. So one thing, and this is kind of encompassing in the AI stuff and everything, because our business is always growing and evolving and changing. And so with AI specifically, I would say get to know it a little bit, because that is going to be incorporated somehow in our business. And as you guys know, doing it long enough, things change. And if you don't keep up with the changes,
for sure,
you get left behind.
Yeah, even if you don't like something, you still have to know how it works.
Right. So have you encountered times where you are dealing with an agent who very high producing and been doing it a long time, but you've been kind of caught off guard during a transaction that maybe they weren't up on some things, and you've had to, because I've had it before where I've had to say, hey.
Well, it can happen too if you just haven't had a transaction that involved something that we just got that changed a year ago or 2 years ago, and it can be very easily not just forgotten, but just out of sight, out of mind until it hits you in the face.
Specifically, this last thing with the buyer agency agreements. So we all got news of this far in advance that this was coming.
months and months and months of it.
And so I don't know about you guys, but as soon as I knew that this was happening and this was going to be a major change to what I do for my job, I mean, I dove in. I could not read enough articles. I could not pick the brains of the mics more. You know, I was trying to come to every meeting and bounce things off of people because I need to know how this works for me to do my job right.
And how it's going to be implemented.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so when the time came, I felt super prepared to jump right in and to explain it to people and move forward. And I really wasn't that worried about it. But I've had several transactions where the agent on the other side didn't quite understand some of the things. And I've had to explain to them how this stuff works. And some of them were not agents that I should be explaining anything to. Been doing it longer than me, and they sell a lot more than I do. And I do all right. But, you know, so I've been doing this a while, but still and so to me, I can't stress the importance enough. I feel like people who get really, really busy in this job and they are super successful can almost feel like, well, I've conquered it.
But
So
it changes all the time.
Yes.
Which is why
What can be learned?
Changes.
and that's why we enjoyed bringing Caitlin on, because Caitlin brings a totally new perspective for us with not just the technology factor.
Oh, sure.
So if you work with somebody like that, she doesn't even know it when she brings us new things. And something like you're talking about, it's a different perception and perspective of it too.
Yeah, I feel like I never want to get so comfortable in what I'm doing that I think I can't learn more.
Right.
Yeah. Our kids will do that to us too, right?
Isn't it amazing how just sometimes like a fresh set of eyes on something that's never experienced it before or gone through it can just look at it and be like, oh, what about this? And you're like,
Yeah.
But we get so, we've found our way to do our job, and we've done it so long and had success at
But
it.
it has changed
And it always will.
so much.
It always will. Yeah, keep an open. Yeah, you have to keep an open mind on how it's
And
going.
it constantly is, yeah.
Yeah. So, I didn't know if you guys had any instances like that where you were like scratching your head, like, how do I tell this person that they don't understand how this works? And I know that I do. It's my wife. I was talking to my wife about it, and she goes, you can't just tell, because she knows me. I don't dig in on something unless I am 1,000% sure. Like, I'll be the first to say, I don't know. But if I know,
as you should.
like, I know.
And there's a professional way probably to do that, right? I mean, to say, hey,
it's not like, why don't you read it, dummy?
Will you double check that?
I was going to say, I mean, really, if you read the forms.
Yeah.
Yeah. But some of our
They're pretty
forms also
self-explanatory.
do read backwards
Sure.
if you're trying to go too fast. So it's okay to educate the old dogs sometimes, and because they teach us a lot of things.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's another reason that I started doing these is opening up lines of communication, getting different agents in here, different ideas, different levels of experience, and we can all learn from each other. And that's our...
I apologize. Yeah, I get 1 o'clock. I have 1 o'clock. I'm sorry.
You have a 1 o'clock?
I do. Yes.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I mean, we're only 45 minutes in here.
I'm 4 minutes away.
How?
So.
All right. Okay. Well, you leave whenever you want to leave, and we'll wrap up.
I apologize.
Okay. So before you leave, then let's do this. As far as marketing goes, what have you found that works versus what is kind of a waste of time and maybe you wish you wouldn't have spent time and money on? Anything?
I think the important thing is just hiring somebody that
Yeah.
is a professional that does a great job with pictures and the floor plan, and then I think that's
Caitlin does really,
and then Caitlin
really
with the social
well with
media.
our social
Yeah.
media.
And then-
Yeah, I mean, I think social media, especially in a town this size, is huge. You know, I mean, we used to advertise in the newspaper, and that's just not a thing anymore.
Right.
And
Getting it to the Facebooks
yeah,
and the Instagrams
I think
and
the videos and the
TikToks
reels and are
and
the
you got to be
best.
careful between doing the balance between the gimmicky and the display, because there's
Sure.
I think there's a fine line.
Yeah, no, and so not even just listings, but I mean marketing and advertising your brand and yourself, right?
I think Jamie and I are probably a
We're
little
kind of
old
unique.
school on this. We've been around this town so long, just like you have.
Sure.
And we sell a lot to family and friends and
we do.
referrals.
I got
and
35 first cousins.
That's a lot.
And Jamie's got a huge family.
So we are unique in the marketing area.
People
where-
use me if they want some
Yeah.
of my mom's cookies. It's people use.
And we don't advertise on Zillow. I mean, so, certain things that a lot of people do.
We've never used Zillow.
We don't.
Ever.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know people who make a lot of money from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you pay Zillow a lot of money
Yes,
as well.
I know people who spend a lot of money on that, but they
a lot.
wouldn't if they weren't getting a return.
Right.
Right.
And for me, I can't wrap my head around sinking that kind of
Right.
investment into it to then chasing down leads. All right, Eric.
Guys,
We'll see ya.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And just so everybody knows, I'm his secretary, and he's
Same.
mine.
Yeah, same.
There's only two Erics in this business, and we both get each other's calls. So without one another
All the
answering the
time,
phones,
man.
we would. Well, I don't know what we would do.
Yeah, it's so funny. I always get like, all right, so you get that sent back over yet? And I'm like,
Who's that? Yeah,
do we have a deal going right
and there's
now?
a lot
Because
of Jamies too.
And thank you for doing what you're doing here, to not just
Oh.
for us, but for everyone. So we appreciate it.
oh man, yeah,
Me too.
no, my
So,
pleasure. I have
right.
I have a lot of fun.
Thank you. And keep that prom picture somewhere close, okay?
It's
See
going
it.
online. I'll put it up there. See you, buddy. All right, just you and me now.
Yeah.
You scared? So, what are your thoughts on, because you brought up Zillow. Eric left the door open. Born in a barn. How do you feel about when a client will say, well, the Zestimate says my house is worth this?
So everybody says that. I mean, I feel like every client looks at Zillow.
Yes.
And so I always say, Zillow does not take into account so many, factors. Market conditions, the condition of the home.
Right.
The neighborhood. I mean, there's so many things that Zillow does not take into account. They look at the stats, they look at room size, beds and baths. And there may not be a roof age on there exactly that we've been talking about.
Right.
And so I always tell people that's, fine to look at. It is a general idea. And, but Zillow does not, they do not have the expertise that we do that are selling.
And I'm glad you said it's fine to look, because it's not like they just throw a number out there out of nowhere. But like you said, it's
based on
very general.
The very basic facts of the
size,
house.
location.
And you don't know if
bathrooms.
that house that sold, had 10 cats in it. And so that's why it sold $30,000 less than the neighbors. There's so many factors that. Do we want somebody to close the door?
It's fine.
It's fine. Maybe somebody will come join us.
Right? There's an open seat. But now we're picking up voices.
Yeah, I'll get it.
I'll leave you talking and I could go do it, but I don't think that's what you want.
Yeah.
But I think that, especially around here where you'll see in some areas there'll be maybe a house will be in a subdivision, and houses in that subdivision will sell for $300,000. Mm-hmm. And you'll go a quarter mile away, and houses will sell for $150,000. Zillow doesn't differentiate.
No. They just take anything that has sold, and they have no idea.
And then you have, within some subdivisions, you'll have the same age of house, the same size, and they'll be right across the street. But maybe the houses are 35 years old. Mm-hmm. One needs totally updated, and the other has been. And you'll have a $100,000 discrepancy in sales prices there.
Yeah.
And and
I just think that we have to understand that Zillow is kind of everybody's go-to.
Yeah.
And so they're going to look at it and they're going to know whatever price Zillow said this house is worth. And then we just have to,
combat that when we go in there. Say, okay, yeah, that's, and I probably take shots that I don't need to sometimes when I talk to people. And say, well, that's worthless. So you can just quit looking at those, please. But, I understand. You see it and you go, ooh, look at that.
Oh, that's what my house is worth.
Yeah. But until there's so many different variables. So
many.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you read the fine print, Zillow tells you as much. Because I think there was a lawsuit at one point where people were saying, like, you are giving out an appraisal without doing an appraisal. I think. So anyhow, that's always good. That makes for good content.
Don't take Zillow's free appraisal. Don't take it.
No. It's best to have somebody in and to pull some, at least around here. Maybe you can get away with that in some other places where the property values don't fluctuate as much as they do here. But they do. They really do. All right. Let's see what else I can make you talk about before we get out of here. Oh, okay. So I don't even know how we can expand on this, but so I have some clients wanting to see a property, and it's listed. It's listed in Waverly. Mm-hmm. So I go and I can't find it. I'm in our MLS. I can't find it, and it's not by owner. And I'm looking. I opened it up to all the different associations that we can access through our MLS, and it's nowhere. So I get on Realtor.com. I see it's listed by an agent that's part of just a different MLS altogether. And so, like, it always blows my mind because, we know people. I had somebody really want to buy a house in Champaign, and they're like, I want you to be my agent, though. I don't want anybody else to be my agent. And I'm like, that's not my market.
Right.
I don't know that.
We're not experts in those markets.
Right. Yeah. And so I feel like if you have somebody list your house and they're not somebody from the local MLS.
Well, and that happens in Springfield.
Yeah.
They'll call either a random online thing or they know somebody, an hour away and they have them list it, and it is not beneficial to the seller.
Not at all.
Because we are not seeing this house, in the MLS. And you might drive by and see the sign, but it's very hard to find.
I think a lot of that, they rely on the fact that a buyer is going to come across that themselves when they look at Zillow or Realtor or Homes.com because it'll be there. Mm-hmm. But for us and, the listings that we send out to our clients, it doesn't show up. So I think if you're ever going to list your house, make sure that the agent you hire or the company you hire
is in the MLS of that area.
Is located in the local MLS.
Yeah.
I mean, you want as many
and
eyeballs
I feel like
on
I've
your
come
property.
across that more times than
It's crazy. Then you should have, right? And then it makes you wonder, it's like, does the seller know?
right.
Or did this person take this listing to get a listing? Say, oh, no, I can sell it. Like, okay, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's okay to just take a referral fee.
Right. Right. No, I agree with that completely. I've come across that way more times than we should.
And I'm still trying to get a hold of this guy to show this house this weekend. I've got to get a hold of him directly, and it's going straight to voicemail.
Oh.
And he doesn't have his voicemail set up.
Well, that house is not going to sell itself.
And it's one of those where you're like, why has this been sitting so long? Like, well, it's
Nobody
not in the right
answers the phone.
MLS, and his phone doesn't have voicemail. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
we'll
is
see.
a disservice to those sellers.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right. Is there anything
Are
you
we
need to get
done?
off your chest? I feel like I put you through enough torture here today, and you did a really good job.
Oh, thank you.
So nicely done.
I don't have anything else.
Are you going to listen to this?
I don't know.
All right.
I enjoy your podcast. I don't know that I will listen to this one.
You should. I think you'll be happy with how it turned out. You did a good job. Yeah, you did a good job. Jamie Murphy, thank you.
Thank you, Eric
And
Pettigo.
when you see Eric, tell him I said thanks.
Eric Pettigo, the voice that I recognized at a baseball field.
Yes, you did.
At a concession
That
stand.
was. I've got one of those voices. That's all right. Hey, have a great rest of your day.
You too.